Imagine walking through a home, where every floorboard creak tells a story, where maybe there's a faded crayon mark hidden somewhere that just takes you back years.
Right. Those little details.
It's a place built with so much intention, filled with, a lifetime of memories, birthdays, holidays, kids growing up, moving out.
It's the center of things for a long time.
And often it's the single biggest asset someone owns, a real tangible thing representing their life's work, a hub for the family.
Absolutely.
But as the years go by and life changes, for a lot of retirees in the U.S., that big family home, it starts to feel different. Maybe a bit too large.
Quieter, maybe?
Exactly. Echoing, even. And it can shift, can't it, from being this comforting anchor to something else. Maybe a financial drain, a constant maintenance headache, and maybe surprisingly, even a bit of a burden. It's that classic house-rich, cash-poor thing playing out for so many seniors.
That phrase comes up again and again.
So the big question we're diving into today, based on this really interesting stack of sources one of you sent us, is this. For U.S. retirees, is holding on to that cherished family home actually a help? Or is it, a hindrance?
That's the core of it.
Yeah. Our mission in this deep dive is to really unpack all the layers of this decision. We're talking financial realities, lifestyle shifts, the practical stuff, and the really profound emotional side of downsizing.
It's huge.
We're pulling insights from all sorts of materials you shared, financial analyses, tax guides, real estate perspectives, even some fascinating psychological studies on the human side of it all.
It's a really rich mix of sources.
It is. It's a decision just packed with complexity, and we're going to explore what these materials tell us about figuring it out.
Right. And what these sources really paint when you put them together is this remarkably clear picture of an incredibly common scenario. You've got retirees, maybe individuals, maybe couples, living in what everyone calls the family home. The place they didn't just live, but where they, built their lives, raised their kids, made all those core memories.
It sounds lovely, but the sources seem to suggest that what worked perfectly for a busy family, it can get challenging later on.
Precisely. One thing that comes up constantly in these materials is that these big, often older homes, they frequently turn into what you could only call a maintenance nightmare.
Or a nightmare. That sounds rough.
Well, one source, Rethinking 65, puts it bluntly. They say these homes soak up money.
Soak up money.
Think about it, right? As a house gets older, there's always something. Roof needing work, the HVAC system getting old, plumbing issues, painting the outside, keeping up the yard.
The list goes on and on.
It does. And these aren't just small annoyances. They're real ongoing costs that can seriously eat into a fixed retirement income.
Yeah.
Or even strain it significantly.
And that strain leads right back to that house-rich, cash-poor situation we mentioned. It's in Rethinking 65. It's in the unbiased source. You might have a ton of wealth tied up in the house itself. The equity built over years of payments and the market going up. That's the house-rich part.
Right. On paper, you look wealthy.
But if most of your net worth is stuck in the house, illiquid, you can find yourself short on actual cash for daily life, for enjoying retirement, or for surprises like medical bills or, ironically, the very home repairs causing the strain.
Exactly. The asset is there technically, but you can't easily use it to fund your life day to day.
Yeah.
And there's another layer here, a really pregnant one, that Rethinking 65 explores well. It's about wanting to pass the house down.
Oh, the legacy aspect.
Yeah. So many seniors hold on to that home almost fiercely sometimes because they really want to leave it to their kids or grandkids.
Yeah.
Preserve it for the next generation.
But the sources suggest, maybe gently, that this deeply felt wish, it might be based on a bit of a misunderstanding. Or maybe just not enough talking with the kids about it.
Right. Rethinking 65 even uses that line from Cool Hand Luke about a failure to communicate.
Huh.
Because the reality for the adult children is often totally different from the parents' dream. The kids might live hundreds of miles away, right? Different states, building their own careers.
They probably have their own houses, too.
Exactly. Homes that fit their own families. And they might look at mom and dad's older multi-story house and see, frankly, safety issues. Like stairs they worry about for aging parents, or even for their own little kids visiting.
That's a practical point.
It is. The sources indicate the kids might not even want the house that the parents are working so hard, maybe even sacrificing financially, to keep up for them.
Wow. So it can be a real mismatch between loving intentions and, practical reality.
A significant mismatch, yeah.
Okay, so we've got the problem set up. The big family home can become a burden, financially and physically, sometimes for reasons the homeowner or even their family don't fully grasp. Let's switch gears now and dig into the first big piece from our sources. The potential financial upside of deciding to downsize.
Right, the potential gains.
Yeah, the sources detail quite a few ways this move can really help the retirement budget.
Absolutely. And the most immediate, often the biggest financial win, mentioned in several sources like Chatterton and Smart Asset, is slashing or totally getting rid of your mortgage payments.
That sounds huge.
It can be. If you sell your current place, likely bigger and worth more, the equity you've built, especially over decades, it can be substantial.
Right.
Using that profit to buy a less expensive, smaller home often means you can buy it outright. No mortgage at all.
Completely mortgage-free.
Exactly. And Unbiased specifically calls that out. Living mortgage-free is a key benefit. It frees up a massive chunk of monthly income that used to go straight to the bank.
That alone could totally change your monthly cash flow. What other direct costs get cut?
Utility bills are another big one. Pretty logical, right? Lakehurst and Chatterton both point this out.
Smaller house, less energy.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
Less space to heat, cool, and light up. Chatterton gives a figure, says the average U.S. household spends around $6,888 a year on utilities.
Wow, nearly $7,000.
Yeah. So moving to a smaller footprint directly cuts into that. Less space, less energy used, lower monthly bills. We're talking potentially hundreds, maybe thousands saved per year.
Okay, mortgage, utilities. What
Yeah.
about property taxes? Those are a killer.
A very significant cost for sure. And generally, a lower assessed value, which you usually get with a less expensive, smaller home, means lower property taxes.
Usually.
Generally, yeah. Smart Asset mentions the average U.S. rate is about 0.9% of the home's value, but, and this is key, it varies wildly by location. Some places are much, much higher.
So moving could save a lot there.
Moving to a cheaper area or just moving to a less expensive home in the same area can mean big savings on property tax.
Chatterton mentioned something specific about California, right? Prop 13.
Yeah, they bring up that complexity. Prop 13 can sometimes let homeowners over 55 transfer part of their low property tax base to a new home of equal or lesser value. But, and this is a big but, they strongly warn it's complex, depends on the county, and you absolutely need to talk to a qualified real estate lawyer or tax pro. It's definitely not automatic.
Good warning. Okay, and insurance costs should follow the home's value too.
Yes, that's right. Smart Asset and Chatterton both say homeowners insurance is generally cheaper for smaller homes with lower values. Smart Asset gives an example average of about $1,900 a year for a $300,000 house. But again, that varies a lot by location, coverage, and the home's value. Smaller, less valuable home usually equals lower premiums.
Okay, so you're cutting ongoing costs. Mortgage, utilities, taxes, insurance. But it's not just about saving money month to month, right? Downsizing can mean a big chunk of cash from the sale itself.
Definitely. Chatterton explains this well. Selling a larger home, especially one you've owned for ages, build up equity, maybe benefited from the market going up.
Right.
That can yield a really substantial profit.
A big capital infusion.
Exactly. A significant chunk of freed up cash.
And what can retirees do with that money, potentially a large amount, beyond just buying the new place? The sources had quite a few ideas.
They did. Picking for the new, smaller home is obviously key, as Chatterton notes. But any surplus cash opens up big opportunities. A major one is funding investments.
Putting the money to work.
Right. Chatterton lists things like stocks, bonds, ETFs, mutual funds, REITs, annuities, CDs, maybe even just high-yield savings accounts.
Just quickly, ETFs are exchange-traded funds, REITs are real estate investment trusts, CDs are certificates of deposit. So lots of investment options there.
Exactly. It's turning that locked-up home equity into potentially productive capital that can generate income or grow.
Makes sense. What else besides investing?
The sources mention lifestyle flexibility, too. Chatterton and Retirement Essentials suggest using it to fund travel, maybe those retirement trips you've dreamed about.
Nice.
Unbiased and Chatterton say you could support family help with grandkids' college funds, perhaps, or just give gifts. Chatterton also lists charitable giving or funding new hobbies, joining clubs, things like that.
And sometimes even the act of getting ready to move can bring in a little cash.
True. Chatterton mentions that when you're decluttering, selling furniture you don't need, or things that won't fit that can bring in some extra money, too. Every bit helps.
Okay. Moving beyond the direct house costs, another big financial plus is maintenance, right?
Right. Chatterton really highlights this. Older, larger homes almost always cost more to maintain and repair than newer or smaller ones.
Makes sense.
They cite an average figure that's pretty eye-opening. about $6,000 a year, just on average, homeowner maintenance and repairs.
$6,000 a year, just baseline. Ouch.
And that's average. It can be way higher if something major goes wrong or the house is really old.
So downsizing cuts that down significantly.
Absolutely. Chatterton and Retirement Essentials list the ways. Routine cleaning is easier, less yard work or none at all if you move to a condo, lower costs for inspections, repairs, upgrades, just less house to take care of.
Less square footage, fewer rooms, smaller yard.
Right. It all adds up to fewer expenses.
And like we touched on, that's not just saving dollars, is it? It's saving something maybe even more valuable.
Time and effort.
Yeah.
Crucially, Unbiased, Blakehurst, Smart Asset, Retirement Essentials, they all really hammer this point home.
Freeing you up from chores.
Exactly. Getting rid of the constant demand of upkeep, cleaning, gardening, fixing things gives you back hours every single week. Hours you can actually spend doing things you enjoy. Hobbies, volunteering, family time, just relaxing, instead of feeling chained to the house chores.
Okay, so that paints a really positive picture. Potential big financial gains, more free time. But the sources are very clear. It's not all savings and sunshine. Downsizing has its own costs. Often pretty substantial costs, actually, that can really eat into that profit you were expecting.
That is an absolutely critical point. Smart Asset and Retirement Essentials both stress how vital it is to get the math right to account for all the costs involved.
Because they can really shrink that net benefit.
Significantly, yeah.
So what are the main transaction costs we're talking about here when you sell one place and buy another?
There are several big ones. Real estate agent commissions, that's usually the largest. Smart Asset gives an example, a 6% commission on a $250,000 sale. That's $15,000 right off the top.
$15,000, just like that.
Yep. That percentage varies, but it's always a hefty chunk.
Wow. Okay, what else?
Then you've got closing costs. These are all the fees paid when the deal closes. Smart Asset mentions buyers might try to get the seller to cover some of their costs, maybe $5,000 in their example. But sellers have their own closing costs too.
Like what?
Things like title fees, escrow fees, recording fees, maybe state or local transfer taxes, attorney fees. It adds up.
And even if you buy the new place with cash, no mortgage.
Smart Asset points out you still have upfront costs on the new place. Things like paying your share of property taxes and homeowner's insurance for the rest of the year at closing. Use a $3,000 example for that.
Okay. And then there's the actual physical move. That's not free.
Not at all. Hiring movers, buying boxes, maybe paying for packing. Smart Asset uses a $2,000 example. Retirement Essentials, though it's an Australian source, makes the same point. Moving costs money, potentially thousands, depending on how much stuff and how far you're going.
And they mentioned temporary housing too.
Yeah, Retirement Essentials brings up that practical point. What if you sell your old house before you can move into the new one? You might need temporary accommodation or storage for your stuff, more costs.
Plus, you might need to spend money on the old house just to sell it.
Absolutely. Sources mention fixing things up, maybe minor improvements to them will look good for buyers. Retirement Essentials calls them make good repairs. Anecdotally, you hear about painting, deep cleaning, even staging costs.
And the new place, even if it's smaller, might need some cash too.
Right. Smart Asset points this out. Maybe your old couch is too big or the style just doesn't work. You might need new furniture, curtains, things to fit the new space. They throw out a $10,000 example, which sounds high, but maybe not if you need several pieces. Retirement Essentials also makes the point about furniture just not fitting.
Retirement Essentials had a pretty stark warning about how all these costs add up, didn't they?
They did. Using their context, but the principle applies everywhere. They warned these costs can seriously reduce the profit you think you're getting, maybe by 12–15% of the original home sale price.
Wow, 12 to 15%.
Yeah, it really drives home the point. You have to do the math carefully. It's not just sale price minus purchase price. You have to factor in all these other expenses.
Okay, so those are the one-off costs. But could downsizing actually lead to higher ongoing costs in some cases? That seems counterintuitive.
It's possible, yeah. Smart Asset highlights this nuance. Property taxes, for instance. While usually lower value means lower tax, what if you've owned your old house forever?
Right.
Its tax assessment might be based on a super old, low value, especially in states with limits on how much assessments can rise. So the tax on a new home, even if it's smaller, might actually be higher than the artificially low tax you were paying.
Ah, that Prop 13 complexity again.
Exactly. It's tricky. And another thing, if you move into a condo, a townhouse, or some senior communities, you're likely looking at HOA fees, homeowners association fees.
Right, monthly fees.
Yep. For maintenance, maybe security, amenities. And smart asset notes, these can vary dramatically. Could be a couple $100 a month, could be over 1,000. You absolutely have to factor those into your new budget.
Okay, what about government benefits? That sounds like it could get complicated fast.
It really can. And Smart Asset and Unbiased both strongly recommend getting expert advice here. Smart Asset says selling your home usually won't affect your Social Security eligibility itself, because that's based on your work record. But
Right.
the income from the sale, specifically the capital gain part, could potentially affect how your Social Security benefits are taxed if it bumps your total income over certain levels.
Okay, so a tax impact potentially. What about benefits that are based on income or assets?
That's where it gets really crucial. Smart Asset and Unbiased both warn that the big pile of cash you get from selling your home could mess with your eligibility for means-tested benefits. Things like supplemental security income, SSI, or Medicaid, especially for long-term care.
Because they have asset limits.
Yeah. Exactly. Strict limits on assets and income. Suddenly having, say, $200,000 in the bank from your home sale could push you way over those limits, potentially disqualifying you or reducing your benefits.
Yikes.
Yeah. So the advice is crystal clear. Talk to an expert, a financial advisor who knows retirement and benefits, or a benefit specialist. Understand the implications for your specific situation before you sell.
Absolutely critical. Okay, and then there are the direct tax implications of the sale itself, capital gains tax.
Yes, a major one, detailed in the IRS and smart asset sources. Basically, if you make a profit selling your main home, and that profit is over a certain amount, it could be taxable income.
What's the magic number?
The IRS has an exclusion. You might be able to exclude up to $250,000 of the gain if you're single, or up to $500,000 if you're married, filing jointly. That's the gain, the profit, not the sale price.
Are there strings attached to getting that exclusion?
Yes, the main ones are the ownership and use tests. IRS and Smart Asset lay these out. Generally, you need to have owned the home and used it as your main home for at least 2 out of the 5 years right before the sale.
2 out of the last 5 years. Okay.
Yeah, there could be exceptions for things like health or work moves, but that's the general rule.
And if your profit is more than the exclusion amount?
Then the excess amount is a taxable capital gain. Smart Asset explains the rates depend on how long you own the home. If it was more than a year long-term gain, the rates are usually lower. 0%, 15%, or 20% depending on your income. Less than a year. Taxed at your regular income rate, which is usually higher.
What if, heaven forbid, you sell for less than you paid? Can you deduct that loss?
Common question, but unfortunately no. The IRS is clear. A loss on selling your main home is a personal loss, and it's not deductible. Can't use it to offset other income or gains.
Got it. Are there times you have to report the sale on your tax return, even if you think the gain is excluded?
Yes. The IRS says you must report it if you don't qualify for the full exclusion, if you choose not to claim it, which is rare, or if you get a Form 1099-S from the closing agent. That form reports the sale proceeds.
Okay.
Oh, and the IRS also notes the exclusion only applies to your main home. If you sell a vacation home or rental property, that gain is generally taxable without this big exclusion.
Right. And they briefly mentioned forgiven mortgage debt.
Yeah, the IRS source touches on that. If debt is forgiven, like in a short sale, it's usually taxable income. There was a temporary exception for main home debt ending before Jan 1, 2026, but it's less common in a typical downsizing scenario where you have equity. Still, it's a tax point they mentioned.
Okay, so summing up the money side. Downsizing can save you money ongoing and give you a big cash infusion, but you've got huge transaction costs, maybe some new ongoing costs like HOA fees, really complex potential impacts on benefits, and critical tax rules like capital gains. It needs serious calculation.
Exactly. Smart Asset and Retirement Essentials really drive this home. Downsizing is not a guaranteed money saver. You have to run all the numbers, costs, taxes, benefits, impact, not just look at the sale price difference.
Yeah.
Eyes wide open on the finances.
Right. Okay, let's shift gears now from the dollars and cents to something just as important, maybe more so. The lifestyle and emotional side of downsizing. Moving is huge, right? Not just paperwork. It changes your daily life, your feelings, your sense of self.
This is where it gets really personal and often really tough. But let's start with the potential positives for your lifestyle. The good stuff highlighted in sources like Blakehurst, Smart Asset, and Retirement Essentials.
We mentioned maintenance savings financially, but there's a lifestyle angle too.
Oh, a huge lifestyle benefit. Blakehurst, Smart Asset, Retirement Essentials all come back to this. Less space means way less upkeep. Less cleaning, less yard work, fewer repairs.
It's not just money, it's freedom.
Exactly. Freedom from the physical and mental burden of managing a big property.
And that freedom translates directly into
More time. Unbiased, and Blakers say it explicitly. You get back valuable hours every week when you're not doing chores or fixing things.
Time for what, though?
Time for things you actually want to do. Blakehurst and Chatterton give examples. Pursuing hobbies like art or music, maybe gardening on a smaller scale, joining clubs, taking classes you never had time for. Real leisure time.
Okay, more time for enjoyment. What about just physical ease day to day?
Blakehurst talks about increased independence and mobility. Smaller space means less walking, maybe no stairs if you choose right, less physical effort, just living. Supportive Care adds that newer places or senior communities often have accessibility features built right in wider doors, walk-in showers, making it easier as you age.
Which leads right into safety.
Yes, a really big one, according to Supportive Care. They mentioned the CDC stat about falls being a major risk for older adults.
Yeah, that's scary.
So, newer or purpose-built housing often has safety features older homes lack. Single-level living avoids stairs, grab bars in bathrooms, better lighting, maybe non-slip floors. These aren't just nice-to-haves. They can seriously reduce injury risk and help you stay independent longer.
There's also maybe a psychological benefit to having less stuff around.
Blakehurst, Habitat Saskatchewan, and Supportive Care all touch on this. Decluttering and living with less can mean less physical clutter, which can lead to less mental clutter, less stress, more peace of mind. Supportive Care talks about reducing decision fatigue. Just having less to manage frees up mental energy.
Makes sense. And moving, especially to a community, can boost your social life.
Huge potential benefit here, mentioned by Blakehurst, Smart Asset, Supportive Care. Moving, particularly to a senior living community or an active adult place, offers instant opportunities for new friends and connections.
Built-in community.
Right. Often they have organized activities, common areas, a network of people in the same life stage. Supportive Care even cites Mather Institute findings showing these communities can increase social connection and significantly reduce loneliness, which we know is a serious health risk.
Downsizing also gives you the option to move somewhere totally new, right?
Absolutely. Smart Asset, Rethinking 65, Chatterton all mention this. The financial freedom might let you relocate closer to kids or to a warmer climate or maybe just a lower cost of living area with good amenities or healthcare.
Chatterton mentioned aging in place as a benefit, which sounds weird. Moving helps you stay put. How does that work?
Yeah, it's about right-sizing your home now so you can age in place later more easily and affordably. Moving to a smaller single-story place, maybe a condo or even an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit, like a granny flat, can be way less costly and physically demanding to manage as you get older compared to a big multi-story house.
So it's proactive planning.
Exactly. Chatterton notes most older Americans want to age in place, and strategic downsizing can make that dream more realistic and less expensive than, say, needing assisted living down the road because the old house became unmanageable.
And maybe a smaller point, but better for the environment, too.
Blakehurst mentions that smaller homes generally use less energy, so a smaller carbon footprint.
Okay, so lots of potential upsides for lifestyle, well-being, even the planet. But the sources, especially Supportive Care, are really clear. Downsizing is emotionally challenging, seriously challenging.
Absolutely. Should not be underestimated at all. Supportive Care goes deep on this. They explain it's not just moving boxes, it's a major life transition that triggers a whole storm of emotions, grief, nostalgia, anxiety, a real sense of loss.
Loss of what, specifically?
Loss of the physical space where life happened, the memories tied to it, the routines, the neighborhood, the connections. Supportive Care calls it a legitimate grief response, just like grieving a death or retiring from a career.
And they had data on that.
Yeah, they cited a study from the Journal of Housing for the Elderly, where 78%, almost 4 out of 5 seniors, reported grief symptoms during downsizing. Sadness, sleep problems, anxiety, feeling down.
Wow, 78%.
And Supportive Care adds that this grief gets complicated because society often says downsizing should be positive, simplifying. Right? So people feel guilty or wrong for feeling sad or struggling.
There's also just the deep attachment to the home itself.
Tremendous attachment.
Yeah.
Smart Asset, Retirement Essentials. Both say a home is way more than bricks and mortar. It holds sentimental value, the history of your life. Supportive Care says it's like the container for your life story. They mention research on place attachment being really strong for older adults. Makes selling incredibly hard emotionally.
And then the stuff. Sorting through a lifetime of possessions, that sounds utterly exhausting.
It is. Supportive Care spends a lot of time on this. They talk about the material convoy, all the stuff we accumulate that travels with us, representing who we are, our relationships, our experiences. One estimate they cite from sociologist Dr. David Eckert is that by age 70, you might have 300,000 to 400,000 items.
300,000? That's staggering.
Isn't it? And each little thing can trigger a memory, a connection. The sheer volume is overwhelming, but the emotional weight of deciding keep, toss, give away.
Supportive care describes it as feeling like you're editing your life story, deciding which parts, which people, which memories get to stay in physical form.
Editing your life story. That's a powerful way to put it. It's not just decluttering.
Not at all. It's grappling with your past. And then beyond the past, there's anxiety about the future.
Fear of the unknown.
Exactly. Supportive care talks about that anxiety. Will I fit in? Can I make friends? Will I still feel independent? Can I find help if I need it? Will I still be able to do the things I enjoy? They cite a National Council on Aging stat. 65% of seniors worry about these unknowns when thinking about moving. And sometimes the decision itself doesn't feel completely voluntary.
That's the difficult part about losing autonomy, which supportive care discusses. Maybe health forces the issue, or money gets too tight, or even well-meaning kids are pushing for it. If it doesn't feel like your choice, it undermines that sense of control, which is so important. Research shows having perceived control over the move is key to adjusting well emotionally.
There's also this idea of identity being disrupted.
Yeah, supportive care notes that our sense of self can be really tied up in our home and possessions. Maybe you were the hostess with the mostest, or the master gardener. Leaving that space and stuff can feel like losing a part of who you are. Research backs this up. Big environmental changes late in life can affect identity.
And moving away physically means leaving your social circle.
A huge concern, with real health implications. Smart Asset and supportive care highlight this. Moving, especially far away, means leaving neighbors, friends, groups, routines. This can lead to social isolation, which the National Institute on Aging links to serious health risks, cognitive decline, depression, heart problems.
So it's a genuine health worry, not just feeling lonely.
Absolutely. Supportive care stresses that.
And just getting used to a smaller space can be hard.
Smart Asset mentions that. It can just feel cramped or difficult after years in a bigger place. Retirement Essentials adds you might lose space for hobbies, or it might be harder to have big family gatherings.
Yeah, the family gathering thing, that came up as a specific worry, didn't it?
It did. Smart Asset and supportive care note the family home is often the hub for holidays and traditions. Downsizing can make hosting tough. Supportive care cited a study. 73% of older parents worried specifically about how downsizing would impact family gatherings.
And just leaving the familiar neighborhood.
Retirement Essentials mentions that too. Leaving familiar shops, doctors, the rhythm of the community. It just feels like more loss, more hard work on top of everything else.
Wow. Okay, so clearly the financial side is complex, but the emotional and lifestyle impacts are massive and need real care. Given all this, the money pros and cons, the feelings, the options, how do the sources suggest people actually approach this huge decision and the process itself? And what other options are there besides just selling and buying smaller?
Right. The sources offer good practical tips for the logistics and, importantly, strategies for coping with the emotional side. On the practical front, dealing with all this stuff is usually step one, decluttering.
The dreaded decluttering.
Habitat Saskatchewan has some simple, useful advice. Start small. Don't try to do the whole house at once. Tackle one room, one closet, maybe just one drawer.
Break it down.
Exactly. Avoid getting overwhelmed. They suggest the classic sorting. Keep, donate, discard piles, and ask yourself tough questions. Used it in the last year. Huge sentimental value. Could someone else use it more? Thinking seasonally helps to deal with winter coats in summer, etc.
Donating seems like a good way to let things go.
It really is. Habitat Saskatchewan encourages donating usable items. It helps charities, it's good for the environment, keeps stuff out of landfills, and you might even get a small tax deduction in the U.S. Plus, many places make it easy with drop-offs or pickups.
Okay, practical tips. What about dealing with the heavy emotional stuff, the grief, attachment, fear? Supportive care had strategies for that.
Yes, several good ones. First, just acknowledge the grief. It's real. Don't pretend it's not happening. Supportive care suggests validating those feelings. It's okay to be sad or anxious.
How do you do that practically?
Maybe create rituals, a final party. Walk through sharing memories, take photos. Journaling helps some people. Sharing stories, allowing enough time to process before, during, and after the move. Maybe even finding a support group for people going through similar transitions.
Using tech to save memories instead of things sounds smart.
It is. Supportive care suggests digital photo albums, video tours of the house, scanning old photos and letters. You preserve the memory without keeping the physical object. Digital storytelling, even virtual reality tours are possibilities.
And that idea of keeping just a small core collection.
Yeah, selective preservation. Supportive care talks about identifying maybe 20 or 30 items that have truly exceptional meaning, maybe tied to family history or key relationships. Keep those carefully. And for other cherished items, personally choosing who you give them to, someone who will value them, can bring peace.
Maintaining control seems key emotionally, too.
Hugely important, according to supportive care. Break the process into small steps. Create a timeline that feels right, not rushed. Involve the older adult in every decision, even if others are helping physically. Offer choices. Respect their pace. Research shows feeling in control dramatically improves how well people adapt.
Are there pros who actually help with this whole process?
Yes. Supportive care specifically mentions senior move managers. These are specialists who help older adults and families with downsizing and moving.
What do they do?
Everything from planning the new space, sorting, coordinating movers, setting up the new place, even emotional support. Supportive care says using them can reduce family conflict, lower depression risk, and help people settle in better. The National Association of Senior Move Managers is a place to find them.
And if you're the one helping a parent or loved one, any tips for the helpers?
Supportive care offers great advice. Listen more than you direct. Validate their feelings first. Don't just jump to solutions. Offer physical help, but don't take over the decisions about their belongings. Let them choose. And document the memories, make a photo book, record stories, celebrate the history of the home, show respect for their past.
Okay, beyond the standard sell big, buy small model, Rethinking 65 listed some alternative housing or financial strategies. What were those?
They laid out quite a few options, depending on what you need. One is selling the house, but renting it back.
How does that work?
Could be a formal life estate deal, maybe with family buy-in. Or sell to an investor and become their tenant, paying rent. Good if you need cash, but really hate the idea of moving. But you'd have a lease and pay rent.
What about getting cash out without selling?
Borrowing against the equity. Rethinking 65 mentions two main ways: a HELOC, home equity line of credit, or a reverse mortgage.
HELOC versus reverse mortgage.
A HELOC is like a credit card secured by your house. You borrow as needed, but usually have to make monthly payments, often interest only at first, and the rate can change. A reverse mortgage, usually an HECM in the U.S., lets eligible seniors get cash from equity. You get payments, lump sum line of credit, monthly, and typically make no monthly mortgage payments.
No payment.
Generally no required mortgage payments, but you must still pay property taxes, insurance, and maintain the home. The loan balance grows with interest and fees and gets repaid when you permanently leave the house, sell, move out, or pass away. Unbiased talks about similar equity release concepts, warning they reduce inheritance and can affect benefits.
Retirement communities are a popular option.
Very common. Rethinking 65 describes them over 55 or active adult places, smaller units usually, apartments or bungalows, optional meals, activities, amenities. They range from basic to super luxurious Droman. Rethinking 65 jokes. Some are like living on a cruise ship. Selling the house to buy or rent in one is a common path. And like Blaker said, great for social life.
Or just selling and renting a regular apartment somewhere else.
Rethinking 65 includes that too. Simple, maybe. Sell the house, free up cash, rent an apartment or small house. No owner hassles like maintenance or taxes, though you pay rent. Gives flexibility, maybe lets you move near family where buying is too expensive. Smart Asset notes this maximizes cash for investment, though you have ongoing rent.
Moving in with kids, multi-generational living.
Rethinking 65 discusses it. Doesn't work for everyone, obviously, depends on the family. But if it does, can mean shared costs, help with grandkids or meals, mutual support. They even mention maybe kids prefer parents living with them if it means parents are nearby, and maybe use some of that freed up cash for shared stuff rather than inheriting a big house later.
What about moving somewhere cheaper? Lower cost of living.
Classic retirement move. Rethinking 65 lists it. Relocate maybe to another state or region where housing, taxes, living costs are lower. You need to consider healthcare access, distance from family, climate too. Could even be international.
Living with friends, like the Golden Girls.
Rethinking 65 does mention house sharing, referencing The Odd Couple. For single or widowed folks, sharing a home with friends offers companionship, split costs, support. More affordable and less lonely than living alone.
And for the really adventurous, hitting the road.
Yeah, Rethinking 65 mentions the RV lifestyle or constant travel. Sell everything, live in an RV, maybe long cruises, travel the world. Needs careful planning, a home base for mail maybe, and thinking about healthcare access, especially outside the U.S.
Okay, so it's crystal clear. Downsizing is packed with financial stuff, benefits, costs, taxes, rules needing careful math. And emotionally, it's a massive life change, potential freedoms, but also real grief, loss, fear. Plus, there are many alternative paths. Given all that, how do you even start to make this huge decision?
All the sources agree strongly on one thing. It's highly personal. Smart Asset, Unbiased, Retirement Essentials all say there's no single right answer for everyone. It totally depends on your money situation, your retirement goals, your lifestyle wants, your health, your feelings, your family.
So where's the starting point?
Smart Asset says step one is figuring out your specific goals. Why are you even thinking about this? More money, less work, closer to family, different climate, something else. You have to know your why.
And it sounds like something you definitely shouldn't rush.
Absolutely not. Unbiased stresses it's not a decision to be taken lightly. It will affect your and your loved ones' lives. Needs time, careful thought. And if you're a couple, Retirement Essentials adds, make sure both partners are truly on board and happy with the decision. Disagreement later causes huge stress.
And with all the financial complexity costs, benefits, impact, taxes, getting expert advice seems less like an option, more like a must-do.
Unquestionably. Unbiased, Smart Asset, Chatterton, IRS sources, they all point to needing professional help. Talk to a financial advisor who gets retirement. Talk to a tax pro about capital gains, maybe a lawyer for contracts or state rules like Prop 13.
They can help crunch the numbers accurately.
Yes. Figure out the real financial impact, understand benefit effects, navigate taxes, make sure you're deciding based on the full picture.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, it's just abundantly clear that downsizing for U.S. retirement is incredibly multifaceted.
Yep. On one hand, potentially big financial wins.
Right.
Ditch the mortgage, lower ongoing costs, get a chunk of cash for investing or living, plus lifestyle perks.
Yeah.
Less work, more free time, maybe safer, more social, better planning for aging.
But on the other hand, significant financial costs. Transaction fees are huge. Maybe new costs like HOA fees, tricky impacts on benefits, and taxes needing expert help.
And the emotional side is massive, maybe the hardest part. Dealing with grief for the old home, the weight of sorting possessions, fear of change, maybe losing identity or social connections if you're not careful.
The huge takeaway from all these sources seems to be there's no magic bullet, no single right answer. It's this complex mix of money, lifestyle, emotions, health, family. The best answer is the one that's right for your specific situation, your age, health, priorities, support system, just like Retirement Essentials and Smart Assets said.
You need that thorough financial check, understanding all the impacts, plus a really honest look at your feelings and what you truly want retirement to be like.
Which leaves us with this final thought for you to chew on. Based on everything we've talked about from these sources, maybe the goal isn't just downsizing your house, but truly right-sizing your life for retirement.
Right-sizing your life.
Yeah.
I like that.
What does a fulfilling, joyful, sustainable retirement really look like for you? Does your current home actually support that vision? Or could downsizing, even with all its challenges, actually open doors, freeing up not just money, but time, energy, opportunity to build a future that feels more aligned with how you genuinely want to spend these years? Maybe the biggest value isn't just the home equity, but the freedom and peace of mind you get from intentionally creating a simpler, more authentic life, even navigating the emotional bumps to get there. What stands out most to you from this deep dive?